Okay. Now let's turn back to what Emma was talking about, and that is that government shutdown. President Trump and congressional leadership emerged from that meeting yesterday without a deal to reopen the full government, but they're going to get together again tomorrow. Welcome now from Capitol Hill, Republican Senator James Lankford of Oklahoma, joining us from Capitol Hill. So thank you very much for being with us, Senator. Good to have you here.
You bet. Good to see you again.
I think most Americans have two questions on their mind. One is, when is it going to be a deal? Because sooner or later there has to be a deal. And what's it going to look like? If you were in charge, if it were all up to you, Senator Lankford, what would you do?
We would have a modest border security package, and we would have already had this resolved a long time ago. I actually laid out a proposal 2 weeks ago to deal with the 7 appropriation bills that are still left to be done. How we would actually do the border security, how we would break that up into land ports of entry, fencing, judges. That was a proposal that had wide bipartisan support when we talked through a lot of things weeks ago, but this all broke into politics last week. And that's been the frustration, and it tends to be the frustration around here, that I think this whole negotiation was on pause until Nancy Pelosi takes the speakership and she can actually lead. And so the Senate refused to be able to finish the negotiations. Chuck Schumer refused to be able to finish negotiations until Pelosi was in that spot, feeling like they'd be in a better position to actually negotiate. At this point, we've got to deal with the issues that we have on the table. Let's get everybody in the same room, like what happened yesterday, House, Senate, White House, negotiate it out, and then bring it back.
So, Senator, you made a very interesting point in there that I don't hear discussed enough, which is when we talk about securing our borders, it's not just the physical border with Mexico. We have ports. We have other places where things such as illegal drugs, for example, could come in. And I haven't heard enough discussion, I don't think, about that, because security is more than just about whether there's a wall or not with Mexico.
That is correct. And this used to not be a partisan issue. It used to be a very bipartisan issue to be able to talk about border security, how we doing basic security. Even on the migrant caravan, I take people back. They're at the port of San Ysidro. There are 5,000 people there trying to illegally cross the border. They're literally 250 yards from the largest legal border crossing in the world. There are 100,000 people a day that legally go through the process to cross there at San Diego, yet the cameras are focused on the 5,000. So we've got to be able to deal with land ports of entry. We've got to be able to deal with how are we checking for drugs in the different places. We have scanning devices that can help us with that to be able to identify drugs and voids in vehicles and such. So all those things are exceptionally important to basic security here in the United States, and again, shouldn't be a partisan issue.
So let me ask you, Senator, normally we would think that the Republican senators and the congressmen generally would have a substantial role in resolving this. It sounds like Mitch McConnell, your majority leader on the Republican side, has said basically, we're not going to do anything unless President Trump likes it. Has that essentially delegated to the President of the United States, that responsibility? Is that true, that it's got to be what President Trump wants if it's going to get done?
No, this has been all along. This has been an agreement that has to go into the House, the Senate, and the White House. And I think when Mitch McConnell has said the president's got to be able to agree on this, it's been a statement he's got to be able to be the third person to agree on it. What Chuck Schumer and Mitch McConnell agreed to 2 weeks ago is they would not bring anything to the Senate floor that did not have support in the House, the Senate, and the White House. And Chuck Schumer even made the statement multiple times, if the White House doesn't agree on this, this is not going to go anywhere. That's true of any law that is made. And so at this point, the House, it looks like they're going to try to pass something as a messaging bill, knowing the White House is not going to bring it up. Clearly, we're not going to bring that up in the Senate. This was already the agreement Chuck Schumer and Mitch McConnell made. We'll finish what's happening, what we'll do for border security, we'll do all together, House, Senate, and White House. It's going to be a bipartisan effort, clearly, at this point, and we'll try to get this done. But I just don't think it should be as complicated as everyone's making this.
Is it possible that the best way to get a deal done is actually to make it bigger? I mean, sometimes that works, and we have a president of the United States who wrote a book called The Art of the Deal. Yesterday, he referred to DACA, which I hadn't heard much of lately. Whatever happened to the Dreamers? Is it possible that there could be a larger deal that included the Dreamers, and that would be more likely to get the support of the 3 groups that you just identified?
I think that would overcomplicate this negotiation. I think we're negotiating over a couple of $2 billion dealing with border security. And if you throw in DACA, if you throw in temporary protected status, if there's all this conversation about other immigration policy, then that becomes a much longer dialogue. I think we should do those things. I've been very outspoken to say DACA should be addressed. But if we do it right now, it slows down the process even more. We've got government employees that are trying to get back to the job. We've got people trying to get permits and all those things that are happening that are slowing down right now. We've got to be able to resolve those as fast as possible.
So Senator, we talk a lot about the markets these days at Bloomberg, and given what the equity markets have done, it's been pretty alarming to a lot of people. What is the perception on Capitol Hill? We had the President of the United States yesterday in that meeting with the cabinet address the issue, saying there had been what he called a glitch in the equity markets, and then saying all we needed were better trade deals. Is the cause of the market disruption, from your point of view as a senator who has important positions in the Senate, is it a matter of the Federal Reserve, which we've heard from the President in the past, or if we got the trade deals, would that fix it?
Well, clearly the market doesn't like anything being messed with from the Federal Reserve. I mean, that's been outspoken for years and years now, that every rumor that comes out from the Federal Reserve, the market reacts to at some point. But I think the long-term systemic issue we have right now is trade. If you don't have stability in trade, if you don't know where trade is going to go or where it is going, then it decreases the incentive to actually engage in companies that do a lot of international trade, and that's the vast majority of companies that are on the stock market. So if we can resolve the issues with China, we can resolve the issues in the Pacific Rim. That helps us a tremendous amount. All that's happening with Brexit obviously has an impact. At this point, we don't know what the UK is going to be able to do with the EU, much less with us. Whatever deal the UK makes with the EU dramatically affects trade with us long term as well. So I think people are on a pause trying to figure out where our trade strategies go. Best thing that we can do is get that resolved as quickly as possible.
Okay, Senator, thank you so much. It's always good to spend time with you. Really appreciate your time. That is Senator James Lankford of Oklahoma. Alex?